Hi, Stephen Krivit here from New Energy Times. Thanks for joining me today. This is a six-part series about the conference presentation I gave on the Widom-Larsen theory in 2023 in Poland. This is part 4.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Stephen. Thank you very much for giving the Widom-Larsen theory an airing. I don't have a problem with the collective electron action, the coherent electron action capturing any potential gamma rays and downsampling them. Another method would be Takaaki Matsumoto's production of itons, where the electrons form a cluster, they polarize the proton, they emit a neutrino and a positron, and the neutrino binds the positron and the electron together to make the iton, and these form a cluster round, and he calls it this NATO model because it's like a dough ball and the fermentation happens inside. However, that being said, when you have a method that produces neutrons, I don't understand, and this was observed by Matsumoto, it was observed by Yul Brown, it's been observed by us, many researchers. You get the synthesis of carbon in abundance. You get the synthesis of oxygen in abundance. You get the synthesis of iron in abundance, and you get the synthesis of calcium. These are all non-spin bosonic nuclei, right? Why, when there's a continuous production of low energy neutrons, ultra low momentum, whatever you call them, neutrons, why do you not get those being transmuted to higher elements? Why do you get these like double magic clusters of homogeneous blobs of particular types of elements when you've got this constant flux and generation of neutrons?
I want to thank you for your fascinating question. I would need much more time to sit down with you to carefully examine your question to even attempt to give you an answer.
Okay, we'll do that.
I hope we can do that.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
When he made his comment after my presentation, I had no idea what he was talking about. After reviewing the recording, I figured out that he was referring to a scientist I had never heard of, who had a theoretical model of LENRs I had never heard of, and who had invented his own new particle. During the conference, and again in a follow-up email, Grenier said that according to that other theory and according to experimental results of many researchers, LENRs produce arrays of transmutation products specifically abundant in carbon, oxygen, iron, and calcium. Although his question during the conference and afterward in an email did not accurately express what he was trying to ask, I eventually understood the context and meaning of his question, which was, why doesn't the Widom-Larsen theory predict those specific transmutation products? It was a leading and, in fact, irrelevant question. I wrote back and explained to him, the Widom-Larsen theory doesn't propose that LENR reactions terminate preferentially in those elements. Grenier wrote back and rephrased his question. He asked why the Widom-Larsen theory does not produce a wider spread of elements. Grenier had run around in a circle. A wider spread of elements is exactly what the Widom-Larsen theory predicts. It predicts transmutation products across the periodic table with the highest concentrations at atomic mass peaks around 12, 31, 62, 117, and 206. The theory also shows a strong correlation to the peaks that Tadahiko Mizuno measured in his heavy water experiments and the peaks that George Miley measured in his light water experiments. Here are the peaks predicted by the Widom-Larsen theory. These are directly calculated by the Widom-Larsen optical model without adjusting them to fit any experiments. Here's a graph of the elements detected by George Miley in a series of his light hydrogen experiments that show evidence of heavy element transmutations. Miley drew curves to indicate where he saw a pattern. He did this years before seeing the curves produced by the Widom-Larsen model. Here's the Miley curve, now in red, superimposed over the Widom-Larsen curve in blue. Here's the graph of elements detected by Tadahiko Mizuno in a set of his heavy hydrogen experiments that indicate heavy element transmutations. And here's the Miley curve and the Widom-Larsen curve superimposed over the Mizuno data. In the history of this field, I've never seen any correlation between theory and experiment like this, let alone a correlation that works for heavy hydrogen as well as normal hydrogen.